Hello, everyone. We apologize for being a couple minutes late. We had some technical difficulties, but thank you for joining us for our planned discussion today, Max, mental health, and you. Um, so for folks at home who do not know me, my name is Robert. I use he, him pronouns, and I work at Max as their communications and outreach coordinator. And I am super excited to be here with three of my amazing coworkers who are part of our mental health support staff. And we are hopefully going to have a really wonderful, fun conversation to talk about the mental health services that can help guys and guys in the Ottawa area. And it's nice to see their faces, being that we're not together in the office at all times. So such a pleasure. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation, we want to obviously first and foremost recognize that Max does operate on unceded and unsurrendered Algonquin territory. And as outlined in our strategic plan, we are very committed to listening and learning with our Indigenous First Nations peoples about how we can be a better informed organization that supports the needs of our Indigenous queer family members. And we also, a few weeks ago, put out our statement in terms of solidarity with anti-Black racism. And we're also just as committed with working with our African Caribbean, Black, and other African diaspora guide and guide family members in terms of making sure that we are an organization that is poised to also help meet their health and wellness needs as we address systemic discrimination in all systems that we're involved in. So that's always a good way to ground the conversation and understanding on whose land we're on, and also who we are committed to helping in terms of guys and to guys. Yes, so where are we at here? Oh, housekeeping rules. So we did want to share that this is a Facebook Live discussion via Zoom. I'll be facilitating and moderating. I also will be on the back end looking for questions and comments on the Facebook feed. So if you see my eyes go up and down, please don't think that I'm being impersonal. Just doing two jobs at once. Also, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments. We will try to address those given the short period of time that we hope to be here with you. So with that being said, welcome Ryan, welcome Griffin, and welcome William to the discussion. So first, I just want to go around, give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves, their pronoun, your title, and we also have some icebreaker questions for each guest here with us. So starting things off with Ryan, what do you want to tell the folks at home?
Hello, so my name is Ryan. I'm the mental health navigator working with Max Ottawa. I use he, him pronouns. What was the other question? Sorry, I'm clearly not great at this, starting off already.
Fine. So you mentioned you're the mental health navigator. And so what we asked you today is, thinking being that we're talking about mental health, what would be your answer to the question, what is mental health? What does that mean to you? And what does it look like in your work?
That's a pretty big question, actually, but I like it. I guess to me, it's sort of broad. I guess it's just sort of like taking care of yourself, like your emotional and mental well-being. It's not necessarily always being like feeling good or feeling great, just having skills and sort of ways of like coping with the bad and knowing how to like go about that. And I would say that that was sort of my definition of mental health, and like how that really works in my work with Max is that I mean, I don't want to start getting too into my program too much, but it really, I guess, sort of like, well, guys come into the program searching for ways that they can better their mental health. So I guess I'm sort of here to help them with that. I don't know if that answered your question. I hope it did.
No, that exactly does. I mean, obviously there's textbook definitions that we learn about these things, but it's also, these are also really personalized definitions, and mental health is going to be different for each community, each age group.
Mm.
You know, so I think that it's important that we also are able to express it in our own words. So thank you for sharing. So next up is Griffin. And tell the folks at home which you want them to know about you, Griffin.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. So my name is Griffin. I use they, them, and he, him pronouns. Currently at Max, I'm a support coordinator who is doing some coordination of our new peer support program. And then in the past, I've also worked in the navigation program like Ryan and done some group facilitations as well. So that's kind of my role right now with Max. As far as mental health, I'm kind of with Ryan. I think it's about, taking the good and the bad as it comes, accepting that, our emotions and our well-being every day is at a different level. And kind of in saying that, I think that being mentally healthy and mentally well is about having access to the tools and resources and community that can help us manage and cope with the things that are going on in our lives. So, I think when we're looking at the mental health of guys into guys, it's even more important to recognize that, sometimes our access to community and to services can be strained, and that's why it's important to, to have services like the mental health navigation program and like the groups at Max to really empower ourselves and empower our community.
Nice, thank you for answering. And lastly, we have William. Such a pleasure to be here with you. So the same for you in terms of how you want to introduce yourself, pronoun and title, anything you want to add to the definition, and or why you think mental health, what are the unique circumstances that make mental health important in a guy and a guy community. And or the question that we kind of posed to you was, what are you hoping for folks to take away from this conversation that we're having today?
Sure. Well, my name is William. The pronouns that I use are he, him. I am assisting within the peer support program at the moment, and I previously co-facilitated group-based discussions centered on anxiety and body image along with Griffin. So it's nice to have a familiar face within the mix. As far as mental health is concerned, I would say that a very loose definition is an overall state of well-being. It's really personal in the sense that it, more than anything, has to deal with where you're at within the moment, and it prompts you to reevaluate some of the circumstances within your life. And I think when it comes to queer identities in particular, there are certain intersections that the dominant culture isn't necessarily receptive towards. And so that in itself makes it difficult to be received with efficient care. And so when it comes to this discussion, I hope more than anything that it provides clarity for people to seek some type of relief, whatever it may be. Because with these times, it's difficult, whether it's related to the pandemic, whether it's related to the racial tension that's taking place within the world. There are so many different things that provide a lot of overwhelming thoughts. So again, I would just hope that people get what they need and just seeking some sort of solace here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And such a thorough answer, because we're definitely living in unusual times. And everyone, it's hard to believe that most people are not being impacted in some way, shape, or form. Changes, just even if it's just a simple change in routine. So part of the reason, the catalyst for this conversation is that we're familiar with these terms: mental health navigation, peer support, max groups, but that terminology can sometimes be lost, right, without explanation. Even in my outreach work, Max has done really great work in the last 2.5 years. I think there's a lot of folks who might be familiar with these programs, but actually don't know how they work or what they do or who's behind all the work that goes into it. So starting back up with Ryan, our mental health navigator. Starting with how would you describe mental health navigation as a program, and or, you know, where, what are some of the tasks that you have that are involved with this program?
Yeah, so the program started in 2007, actually. It was based on a community assessment that Max Ottawa had done. So our service, it doesn't directly provide psychotherapy or counseling or anything like that. The main focus of the program is really to put guys into guys in contact with mental health providers in the Ottawa area. So the service includes, it's a 3-part process. It starts with an intake. So it's a discussion between one of our mental health navigators, chiefly me, sometimes Griffin has had experience doing them as well. And it's just a conversation about what a service user is coming in for and looking for in terms of mental health programs. So it's about like let's say about a 15-minute discussion, talking about some of that, really looking at if there are any barriers to access, anything that anyone is particularly interested in and seeking out in a mental health service provider. So yeah, so that's the first part. It's about, a 10 or 15-minute conversation. And with that, I then look through sort of our database of providers in the area. And based on our conversation, I then go through and sort of make a list of providers that I think might suit a service user, and do a little bit of a breakdown with, where they are in Ottawa, the fees, any fees that are associated with accessing care, why I think that, why I chose them as a provider, why based on our conversation. And then there's a follow-up as well that I do about like a week or two after the list is sent out, just to see if there are still any barriers that guys are facing with accessing the program or with accessing service providers. So that's basically what the program is. Like I can also help with like making referrals and stuff too, if that's of interest to guys who are seeking the program. So yeah, that's basically the program in a nutshell.
Okay, nice. So it's, the key thing that I took away from there that's really simple, I think, is it's a 3-step process. You meet with the client, help them identify their needs, follow up, and then follow up again. Because oftentimes, so many things fall through the cracks, for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. And so, I'm going to skip around on questions. And so, how would folks access this initial intake to meet with you?
So if you go to our website with Max Ottawa, there's a link to, if you go under it, there's services. And then if you go under services for you, and then click on that, on our page, on the left-hand side of that page, you'll see a link for the mental health navigation service. So there's a self-referral form that you fill out, and then I would get an email with that. And I think that it's a basic questionnaire just about how to contact you, your name and your pronouns. It's nothing deep about like why you're looking to use the program or anything else like that. It's very just like, you're just reaching out to express your interest in the program. And then I would email you back or call if you prefer. And then I would get into contact with you. And then from there, then we would figure out a good time to do our intake. So that's how you would access the service. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so you, and because we've been quarantined and we haven't really been, Max is usually out and about in the community doing outreach. And so around how long have you been working with Max in this official role?
Working with Max in this official role, this was at the beginning of June. So I've only been in the work about a month, but I have previously volunteered with this program, helping to really structure our database, which helps the whole navigation process and really streamlining that. So I was volunteering for about, I would say about 9 months, started in October of last year doing that. So I'm pretty familiar with the program.
Nice. And what background or credentials are you bringing to this program so folks know a little bit more about you?
So I'm currently doing a bachelor's in psychology at the University of Ottawa. I also have a bachelor's in physiology with some coursework in public health. And I have personally used the program, so I have sort of a personal way, a personal touch with that and how to go through it and everything else. And like I said, I was volunteering for 9 months with the program. Yeah, and I also have personal experience navigating mental health systems, which has never been the easiest. So I sort of bring, yeah. So I sort of bring that knowledge and experience as well. So.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. And it's nice to know that when folks are accessing the service, that they're not only reaching a qualified professional, they're also reaching a guy, and also reaching someone who's been through the process. And I think that certainly is really important to have that sensitivity for sure. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So as many may be aware, but we also launched a new program during COVID to kind of help also address some more mental health social needs, which is our peer support program. And so next up is Griffin, who we kind of asked to speak to that program as well as the other work that you do. So just first question for you, Griffin, is how would you describe the peer support program?
Yeah, so the peer support program emerged. It kind of started to be conceptualized more and like solidified around March. So it really did emerge kind of as a response to the need for physical distancing. But peer support kind of exists. It's interesting. It exists on this spectrum from friendly interactions with community members to more clinical interventions. And the Max Peer Support Program kind of exists in the middle, somewhere in the middle of that. So peer support, the Max Peer Support Program is it's a phone and video and audio conferencing based support line that you can access remotely. So it gives you the ability to get yourself in contact with a peer support volunteer, so one of our team members, and they can help you with, anything from feeling isolated to more specific challenges with, stress management, relationships, navigating services, and, just really trying to connect folks with people who have a similar shared lived experience. I think that's really where the peer support program becomes powerful.
Nice. And it sounds like a nice complement to the mental health navigation system, right? In terms of if you need, more clinical service provider assistance or if you just need a listening ear, maybe just need extra pointed in the right direction.
Definitely.
So how would folks access the peer support program?
Yeah, so our peer support line is open at 3 different windows of time throughout a week. So right now, those are Monday 12 to 3, and then also 6 to 9, as well as Thursday 6 to 9. So within those time blocks, you have the ability to book an appointment with a peer support volunteer. You can also simply call in during the times that the line's open, and you'll be immediately connected with either William or myself, and we'll work with you to connect with whoever is volunteering on the line that day. So if you're looking for connecting with someone with more specific lived experiences to you, I would recommend using the appointment booking software because we have volunteer profiles that help folks get a better understanding of who they might be speaking with. But also if it's just been a rough day or if you really are feeling, isolated, we're there during those times for you to call in without an appointment. So those are the 2 main access points for that program right now.
Great. And so And just so everyone's aware too, is that as you're speaking, I'm placing those links to those how to access emails and things in the comments as well, that Griffin and Ryan, of course, will speak to. Wonderful. And so Griffin, I've actually known you for quite some time, even before I moved to Ottawa. We ran into each other socially, and it's also really nice to be your coworker as well. So it's kind of same question for Ryan as well in terms of your experiences and background that you're bringing to the role.
Yeah, thanks. I think that first and foremost, like my lived experience within this community, I grew up in Ottawa. I think I've considered myself a member of like the Max community longer than I've worked here. And also, like the LGBTQ or queer community in Ottawa. I think that is really what guides and governs my work at Max more than anything else. But education-wise, I'm working on an undergrad in social work right now. I have some other past experiences in university and college education as well. But yeah, I think as far as background and experiences that I bring to the role, really, living as a person in this community and living as a mental health service consumer and mental health survivor is really what probably informs my work at Max more than anything else.
Nice, thank you so much. It's also nice to know as well who's behind, who are people reaching when they reach out for these programs and services. And I also know that you worked with William, who we're kind of going to pose the same questions as well. And so, and also William to talk a little bit more about the Max Groups program that we also have under our mental health umbrella. Yeah, how would you describe the Max Group program in your own words, William?
I would say that the Max groups, ultimately, they provide an opportunity to connect more than anything. And so depending upon your needs within the moment, it gives you a chance to really speak upon some of the concerns that you might have within your daily life that you might not necessarily have the opportunity to vocalize depending upon where you're situated in life. And I find that in itself can be quite difficult, especially when we're navigating certain directions within an everyday basis, whether it's related to your education, whether it's related to work, et cetera, et cetera. And so the neat thing about Max is the fact that they really take the time to concentrate on specific niches within the community while also providing an opportunity for others to really hone in on some of the skills that they might not be able to maximize within the dominant culture. And so I've had experience navigating certain Max programs as well, especially when it comes to K1, just because it was really the first time that I had the opportunity to not only be seen as a full individual while navigating my Blackness and my queerness, but to really just shed light on some of the difficulties that myself and others seem to experience within a regular basis. And so I feel like with the mental health programs, again, it just provides an opportunity for relief and to really concentrate on what's speaking to you.
Nice. And I know my own familiarity is that it typically run 7 to 8 weeks weekly and facilitated by professionals who were there to guide through the topics. And so given with COVID and social distancing, have we given thought to that? Are there any Max groups that are in the works that people might be able to go through or move through?
Yeah, so we're currently in the phases of developing a skill-based group centered on anxiety. And so I had an opportunity to co-facilitate a similar discussion with Griffin last year. And more than anything, it just provides an opportunity to get better acquainted with certain techniques that allow you to navigate some of the challenges related to anxiety, while also providing a resource as far as how to understand it on your own terms. I find that sometimes when it comes to certain issues with regards to mental health, there's a concentration on the medical aspect without actually taking into account personal factors. And so that in itself makes it difficult as far as accessibility is concerned. And it also gives you an opportunity to connect with regards to lived experiences as well. And so all of us being guys into guys, there are certain parallels, but there are also certain differences as well that we can learn from one another. And I find that that's one of the most enriching experiences to co-facilitate, because while I'm doing the best that I can to provide some type of insight, I'm also gaining something as well from what the others are bringing to the table.
Thanks.
And can I just add a little bit to what William was saying as well as a co-facilitator? You know, yeah, I definitely second that notion that the space is helpful for myself, and I think William as well as facilitators. You know, we had a body image group running amidst kind of the closures of everything back in the spring, and that group continued to run online via Zoom for I think the last 2 or 3 sessions. And yeah, as far as the Skills for Anxiety group this time around, we're looking to run it similarly. So we won't be meeting within a physical space, but we'll be going through the same content within each session, giving folks the opportunity to connect. And you know, you don't even necessarily have to wear pants. So maybe for some people, it's a nice accommodation to have that remote option.
I like that, because I may or may not be wearing pants right now. And last question for you, William, for this segment is same question as we posed to writing. Griffin, in terms of your background and experience and what you're bringing to your role here at Max.
Yeah, I have a Bachelor's of Arts degree in psychology from Carleton, and I recently completed my MA in psychotherapy at St. Paul University. And
Congratulations.
thank you. A very grueling process. I'll never do it again. But it was nice because it really honed in on my interests within human behavior more than anything. I was always drawn by the idea that all of us are ultimately reaching for the same goal, but arrive at it differently. And so I think that in itself provides an opportunity for me to expand my knowledge, because there's only so much that I can really take away from my own experiences. It really is a collaborative experience, so you can gain an understanding through other people's perspectives. And so as far as what I could potentially bring, it's still so weird thinking about it. But really just to be attentive to what other people are saying and to really open the door for people to share their stories, because I realize that that in itself is a very personal experience, and sometimes it can be a bit nerve-wracking to convey it in such a vulnerable manner. But I also feel like it provides a level of strength as well to know that you have the opportunity to be seen and to be received fully with care.
Nice. Thank you for sharing such a passionate answer, which is also nice to know, right? That folks are accessing it, you know, and accessing, I think Max in general, it's hard not to be biased, but it has been really a pleasure to work with really passionate people, I think, and about people I work with now and in the past, in the 2 years I've been here. I think that's really such a benefit. Nice. So thank you so much for everyone's answers. And so not only just giving definition, bringing a face, helping put these programs into context and how to access, I also wanted to give everyone an opportunity to share any highlights, any success stories, any thing that comes to mind when they think about working with community and seeing the impact that it's had on the clients that you worked with. Anyone who wants to go first?
I can speak to that. Yeah, so, you know, when we first came out with the peer support program, we had a caller who disclosed to a volunteer who later paraphrased it to us that, you know, he has access to, a therapist, so has access to those clinical interventions. But what really meant a lot to him was this idea of being able to connect with someone who he knew would understand. And I think that that really speaks to the value of the Max Peer Support Program, but also to, mental health navigation to our groups, just to have folks who, you can kind of, right away are maybe going to have a little bit more of that same lived experience as you. So that's something that I've seen within group facilitations in the past too. And it's feedback that we've, I think, continuously gotten is, just that shared lived experience. And beyond that, I think the biggest success of the peer support program so far is the really, really incredibly passionate and devoted volunteers that we have keeping that program alive. There's so many different lived experiences within our group. And I think what really bonds us all is the commitment to community and the commitment to helping others. So that's probably been the biggest success for me so far.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing.
I can go.
Yeah.
I would say that success, in my opinion, I've recommended 2 programs to 2 friends of mine in the past, and they had nothing but positive things to say, especially since there was a level of reservation as far as how they would be able to navigate. But I think the one thing that I really appreciated in my experience with Max is that there's a level of flexibility as far as how to explore certain topics that are being implemented. And so even co-facilitating with Griffin, when we had the opportunity to look at certain things that we thought would be important to bring to the table, we either expanded upon it or allowed others to really speak upon what it is that they needed within the moment. Because I find that there's only so much that one person can really say. And I also wouldn't want to reinforce a power dynamic as well. So people may look towards the co-facilitators in a particular light, but more than anything, like I was saying before, it's a collaborative experience. And so I will want people to ultimately get what they needed from these programs while also providing an opportunity for all of us to learn together and from there instill some level of growth.
Nice. Thanks for sharing. And lastly, Ryan.
Yeah, so I haven't really been in the program for very long. It's only been about a month, but so far we've had 4 guys come through our services. And one so far has contacted a provider and has gotten the care that he's looking for. So that's pretty great. A lot of my work right now is trying to focus on diversifying our network just so that we can meet the needs of all of the guys who come to seek our services. So that's where we're at with the program right now. Like I said, I've only been here a month, so in terms of really great success stories, they're on their way.
Well, they're happening already. If we already have 4 folks moving through the program, then, really that's what they're here for. Great. I just wanted to, I'm going to read a couple quotes that we've gathered over the years from different programs. This one was from our anxiety group that we ran, the first one we ran back in 2018. And someone who went through the group said, this group was always a welcoming opportunity to share thoughts, ideas, beliefs, experiences, etc. in total confidence and without judgment with like-minded guys. Discussion groups may seem unappealing or scary to some of us who often only want to be left alone to deal with our issues, hoping they'll just go away. But gently forcing ourselves to share and confront those issues with others immediately lightens our load. And we may unintentionally end up helping a stranger by simply shedding some light on our individual path, which may resonate with someone else going through the same thing, thinking he's alone doing so. Such a powerful quote. And then last, I wanted to share from our After the Party group. This is a part of our Max groups that's focused on dealing with abstinence from crystal meth and how to reconnect. And someone from that group wrote, the coordinators were non-judgmental and seemed to combine 2 different approaches, linking people in need to help to known and effective services and reflecting on the negative realities and consequences of meth use that leave permanent scars. It felt very helpful to talk about a topic that one can't talk about openly and to have an exchange of ideas and thoughts. Yeah, and really on that note, I just thought that those were really just two powerful examples of what Max's mental health services are doing and why we encourage guys to get involved. You know, we want people to have that same level of success. And when things maybe not go according to plan, we also want that feedback to make it better. We're not modeling perfection as hard as we try. Wonderful. So now that we're wrapping up, I just wanted to give an opportunity if anyone else had any last things that they wanted to share, any last thoughts, any things that they felt like they didn't get out during our discussion.
You know, I've been getting progressively sweatier throughout this entire life. So I figured it might be worth it to mention, I was made aware a couple of days ago that Ottawa is offering cooling stations at various public spaces throughout the city. So there's a few that are open until 7 p.m. tonight and may stay open if the heat wave continues and there's a need for it. So, you know, folks tuning in from Ottawa, I definitely recommend checking out those cooling stations if you are also schwitzing currently. So, yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that as well, because in addition to the services that Max provides, which are for any of our guy-to-guy community members in the capital region, but there's also other mental health support systems at the time. So every Wednesday, Max, in partnership with the Walking Counseling Clinic of Jewish Family Services and Centertown Community Health Center. There's single session counseling that's available for any 2S LGBTQ plus individual and their family. That is being done by appointment via email link. I did put that in the comments as well, but that email is lgbt2sqwednesday@centertownchc.org. And those appointments are every Wednesday. The time is 12 to 8, but the last session is 6:30 because they're generally 90-minute appointments. And those are available virtually. And then there's also a broader service called Counseling Connect that is also virtual or phone single session mental health counseling. And this is available to any in the area, LGBTQ plus allies, all ages. There's no limits in terms of that option. And that website is counselingwith2lsconnect.org. And there it's just really simple. You just put in your name and preferred contact, and you can see what dates and times are available with the counselor and select that slot, and they'll reach out to you in whatever capacity that works best. So yeah, it's really interesting times we're living in. So it's really important that we take the time to take care of our mental health, especially more so as guys and guys, because we certainly have very unique issues that face us. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Ryan, Griffin, William, thank you so much for your time. I didn't note any questions in the comments, but that's okay. If folks have any, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our website is always available 24 hours, maxottawa.ca. You can, and just one thing that I'll just end quickly and then we'll wrap up. If everyone just wants to share their email or a way to get hold of you if people have questions about your specific programming. We'll start with Ryan and Griffin and William.
Perfect. So my general email, you can reach me at navigation@maxottawa.ca. That's an email that I'm checking quite frequently, or you can reach my personal Max email at r.pcore, which is PECORE, at maxottawa.ca.
Great, thanks. Griffin?
Yeah, so my email is Griffin, GRIFFIN, @maxottawa.ca. So if you have any questions about any of the programs I'm involved with, I can definitely help you there. As far as reaching the peer support line during the times that we're available, or if you want to leave a voicemail for us the next time that we're on, you can reach us at 613-702-8429. There's also a link through our Max info line to that number as well.
Nice, thanks. And lastly, William.
Well, for my email, I also have a Max account, so it would be william@maxottawa.ca. And then my personal email is william.kone, KONE93@gmail.com.
Wonderful. And I'm R.Alsberry, ALSBERRY at maxottawa.ca. Please don't hesitate to reach out. That's what we're here for, to help. And everyone stay cool, stay hydrated, and engage in some meaningful self-care, whatever that looks and feels like for you. And we'll see you all another time. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.